What if I told you Stevie Nicks, who's had a mystique in music for 48 years, has shown us all the way she's remained so magnetic? How to be a success, but not at the expense of being kind and generous. Is she really a witch? No, that's witch with a W. Although that would not be the first time that a powerful woman had been called either word. More on that later. But if it is so, the latest recruit to Stevie's coven, Bebe Rexha, will be duetting with Stevie on the remix to Bebe's song, Heart Wants What It Wants. My heart only wants what it wants, what it wants, what it wants, till it doesn't. But even the original mix of this track is kind of like a mashup of different Stevie Nicks songs. The beginning sounding a little like Rhiannon, the pre-chorus is a little like Rooms on Fire. She had just and the chorus a little like Stand Back. My heart only wants what it wants, what it wants. Stand back, stand back. Even the record in the beginning is a nod to early Fleetwood Mac. Although Bebe is certainly not the first female artist to use Stevie as a muse/fairy godmother. It's Bebe Nicks. Hiyo, it's me, Io, the popcorn philosopher. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome, fellow alien and fellow philosopher. It's me. Well, just like a white-winged dove. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yep, today we're talking about Stevie Nicks and her history of helping up-and-coming female singer-songwriters. It's gonna be a kind of sort of timeline. It's well-trodden territory in Hollywood to pit the seasoned, brilliant leading lady up against the bright, shiny ingenue. Movies have been made, songs have been written, catfights have been had. But why do this to Gina Gershon when we could be bonding over our love of doggy chow?
I used to love doggy chow. I used to love doggy chow too.
Well, one of the most important archetypes for women is the archetype of the maiden and the crone. Can we have a better looking crone? Thank you. Our crone is a lovely lady. But when these two women support and respect each other, it really is lightning in a bottle. The crone passes down her support and her wisdom, while the maiden offers the crone a fresh perspective. And no one epitomizes this more than Stevie Nicks, who has been a fairy godmother to so many up-and-coming female singer-songwriters. But also men as well. And why does Stevie's music have this enduring effect? Let's go back. It's 1994, and grunge was all but over, but the honesty of songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit, like Hunger Strike, Disarm, Doll Parts, grunge seemed to have made everything irrelevant that had come before in rock, or so it seemed. These were very turbulent times for these bands. Drugs, the death of bandmates, and the ever-changing music industry. These bands were looking to bands of the 70s, particularly female-heavy bands, of which they had more in common with than bands of the late 80s. Grunge was emotional, and these bands really related to the sensitivity and yet the power of these female-heavy bands like Heart, like Fleetwood Mac, like Patti Smith. Although, ironically, these more senior bands were worrying about their own future. For instance, take Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart.
After the 80s, we came back to our hometown, Seattle, and the whole style of rock has changed, and it's like Nirvana now, and it's Soundgarden, and it's Screaming Trees, and it's Alice in Chains, and it's Pearl Jam, and they're gonna hate us because we were the MTV, darlings with the big hair and the corsets and all that stuff. It's right when Andrew Woods died from Mother Love Bone, right?
Yeah.
And our friend, my longest, dearest friend, Kelly Curtis, who managed them, and said, come to this house in Seattle, bring your dogs, we're having a wake for Andrew Woods. And so Me and my then husband Cameron went there, and we met all those guys. They were the sweetest. There was not an attitude among them. They were like, "Oh wow, you guys, you did some cool stuff. Wow!" And like Jerry Cantrell's like, "How do you play the beginning of Mistral Wind?" You know, and stuff like that. So they were like instant brotherhood for us.
They didn't realize how much these 90s band had really been inspired by them and really were about to become part of their mythology.
But also, the music that these ladies had written held answers to what these bands were going through, because they had gone through it too. Trivia: around this time, what two Stevie Nicks songs became hits for what two bands, and why did they choose them? No, just kidding. Answer: Smashing Pumpkins did Landslide, and Hole did Gold Dust Woman. So Landslide will be covered by many artists after this, which we'll discuss, but why does it connect to so many artists? At the heart of this song is the line, "Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too." Whatever you've chosen to build your life around, no matter what age you are, everyone can relate to this. And it serves as a reminder to really look at how you're living your life. And depending on where you are in your life, this can be a very searing lyric that can bring you to tears, as it was for Billy Corgan at the time. Recorded during a time when there was a lot of fights in the band, including battles with drummer Jonathan Melvoin, just trying to keep him alive from his heroin use, a battle that they would lose in less than 2 years. You can hear Billy Corgan can barely get through some of these lyrics.
Can I handle the seasons of my life?
Giving this song so much vulnerability. And this drug connection runs through to Courtney Love. Both she and Stevie Nicks had issues with drugs, although Gold Dust Woman was written in Stevie Nicks' honeymoon drug period. So kind of a premonition of what damage it was going to do. So the original has kind of a dreamy feeling to it, a creepy dream for sure. And Stevie may have been singing about cocaine, but when Courtney sings it, she was singing about a heroin addiction that had already done so much damage. So this version has a very dangerous feel to it.
Take your silver spoon, dig your grave.
This is very soon after the death of Kurt Cobain, and Courtney Love is an incredibly polarizing figure, then and now, honestly. Stevie could have been chilly with her or distant and not want to be associated with her. But Courtney was one of the first women in rock that Stevie kind of gave her blessing and gave her good advice to. I actually just read an incredible article between these two. I'll leave a link down below in the description box if you want to read it. It's a great read. But anyone who thinks that Stevie was, a diva and controlled Fleetwood Mac because of her success and is the one responsible for Lindsay not being in the band today really should read this article and realize how deferential she has been for years. Her success made the band very jealous, and it was actually miserable for her too in a lot of ways, according to this article.
The only divadom Stevie talks about was enjoying the finer things in life, like a cashmere blanket or a rose Porsche. And she tells Courtney that it was Don Henley who taught her how to spend money.
Well, now we know why Don Henley and Lindsey Buckingham have to copyright us YouTubers. It's the money. Not so of Stevie, though. She doesn't copyright strike her material here on YouTube.
A song that hasn't been in the Billboard charts in 43 years, Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, has suddenly reappeared at number 21 on the Billboard charts because of this viral video that I'm sure many of you have seen. This is Nathan Apodaca on his longboard going to work, drinking Ocean Spray cranberry juice and listening to the 1977 Fleetwood Mac hit, Dreams.
And Rick Beato goes on to discuss how he's been blocked by both Don Henley and Lindsey Buckingham. And I've had my own video copyright strike due to using 10 seconds of Go Your Own Way in this video. And frankly, it's legendary behavior that Stevie hasn't done this to any of the songs I've chosen to use of hers.
Which is actually very smart because it keeps her music alive and relevant for future generations.
And this legendary behavior is extended to Courtney, and in turn, Stevie considers her a friend. In the article, she gives her advice on how to be in rock and still be alive at 40.
And now Courtney's past 40, so despite some of Courtney's best efforts, the advice must have worked.
And in my opinion, Gold Dust Woman was one of Hole's better singles, but I guess Stevie was more of a muse than a collaborator.
But when I was a kid, the first woman that I saw that Stevie had this kind of muse/collaboration with, that was Sheryl Crow. It's 1995, and Stevie goes to a party for the soundtrack for Boys on the Side, on which she sang one of Sheryl Crow's songs, Somebody Stand By Me.
I need someone to stand by me, stand by me, just one time. I hope somebody stands by me, stands by me.
Yeah, I'd never heard that song before. At the party, she meets Sheryl Crow for the first time. They both know a bunch of famous people, and so they're having a great time gabbing and gossiping about mutual acquaintances. Eric Clapton. Oh, sorry. I've got a sniffle.
Long rumored to be the cheating jerk that inspired the song My Favorite Mistake. Okay, hopefully we can keep this straight, because Stevie Nicks, who had made some of her own mistakes but was well acquainted with the messy behavior of one Eric Clapton, he was married to Pattie Boyd, sister of Mick Fleetwood's wife, Jenny Boyd. That's the wife Mick Fleetwood was married to when he had an affair with Stevie. Jenny Boyd, at the time, sought refuge with her sister Pattie Boyd, who Eric Clapton had already stolen from his good friend George Harrison, famously inspiring the song Layla. Well, Jenny was staying with her sister Pattie when Eric Clapton crawled into bed with her while her own sister was asleep in the same house. Yeah. Jenny and Stevie had a heart-to-heart years later, and Jenny forgave Stevie. But yeah, her and Sheryl Crow had a lot to talk about. But regardless, her and Sheryl's friendship seems so fun and irreverent.
She did tell me also not to have babies because you'll never write a great song again. And I will say I write a lot less songs.
I did not say that. Sheryl Crow.
But they also have such a mutual respect for each other.
When I first heard this song, Are You Strong Enough to Be My Man, I didn't hear it on the radio. I saw it on a video on MTV or VH1.
On VH1.
I actually, what I meant to say was, I saw it on VH1. It was the middle of the night, and I was just kind of sitting there by myself. I'll never forget this. For women like Sheryl and I who have this extreme kind of career, every time we meet a new nice man, it crosses our mind, are you strong enough to possibly deal with our incredibly odd life?
So true.
And so from that moment onward, I thought, you know, this is a great song for any women that have like extreme careers.
Yeah, and I couldn't have said that better.
I don't feel like hell tonight. Tears of rage I cannot hide. Be the last to help you understand. Are you strong enough to be my man?
Later in 2001, Sheryl Crow would produce several tracks off the Trouble in Shangri-La album, including a duet together of Stevie's song Sorcerer, which has kind of a interesting history. Written in 1972 and then recorded by actually Marilyn Martin in 1984. Stevie didn't actually record it until 2001 with Sheryl. But one of my favorite Stevie-Sheryl collaborations is a song that Stevie Nicks could have written herself, but it was actually written by Sheryl Crow, and it's a song called It's Only Love. It has that strong, fragile thing that Stevie does so well.
In the center of this blizzard you stood and melted all the ice. It's only love. It's only love.
But now it's 2002. Stevie is asked to perform at VH1's TV event Divas Live, filmed in Las Vegas. She performs Landslide with the then Dixie Chicks, now just the Chicks. Stevie would go on to tell Oprah in an interview that Natalie Maines is one of her favorite people to sing with, and that she could easily be happy singing and being one of the Chicks. And the Chicks record Landslide, and it becomes actually the highest charting version of Landslide. Although for me, no one's version tops Stevie's version.
And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. Well, the landslide brought me down. Oh, blue and sky was love. Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides?
But Stevie was one of the first people to defend the Chicks after their controversy speaking out about George Bush and the war.
And very supportive of other females in the industry. I think lots of women are competitive, and she really wants you to succeed.
Which they were right about, by the way. But let's fast forward a little.
It's summer of 2005. Stevie goes on tour, her Gold Dust tour, and opening for her is a young Vanessa Carlton, beginning a very long association and friendship, as well as a long collaboration as an opening act that even continues to this day. She toured with her in 2022. Vanessa opened for her again. But that's not the only association.
It's Reverend Stevie, y'all. In 2011, at Vanessa Carlton's wedding, it's officiated by, you guessed it, Reverend Stevie Nicks.
Stevie also helped Vanessa come to terms with the song 1,000 Miles, specifically with all her fans wanting her to sing 1,000 Miles for the 1,000th time.
Oh my God, it's our jam!
At one point, Vanessa had gotten really sick of singing this song.
Making my way downtown, walking.
And Stevie again gives good advice, telling Vanessa, do you think there's a performance that I don't sing Landslide? No, the answer is no. This helped Vanessa realize that what they both do is a service for people. And these days, Vanessa no longer cringes at having to sing 1,000 Miles for even the 100,000th time. But one of my favorite collaborations between these two is a song that Vanessa wrote, but could have been written again by Stevie herself. I really think that these ladies, using Stevie as a muse, write some of their best work this way, and this is a song called Carousel.
In 2013, they sang it live together, and including this moving tribute Stevie gave Vanessa.
This little girl spent Christmas with the Nickses this year. We had a piano. I said, so Vanessa, play a Christmas carol. I don't know any. I'm Jewish. Okay, well, then play a Jewish Christmas carol. We're not any religion at all. And I don't know any. And I said, well, play something. So she played this song that's coming up. I have this drop-dead gorgeous nephew, and he was helping her hold the piano on her lap because she was balancing it. And I just watched him just almost completely fall in love with Vanessa. And that was a moment, and I'm like... And this one turned completely bright red. And I thought, oh my God, it's that Nick's charm. It's just reaching out and getting her.
It's very charming.
The only reason I'm singing this with her is because I love this song so much, and we're such good friends. We've been friends, and she has opened for me for many, many, many years. And I think that she is one of the great ones, and I respect her with all my heart. And this record, I've listened to it 1,000 times, and it's so magnificent that I hope you all give it a chance, because it's really brilliant. And she is so special that if you take her into your heart, she'll never let you go.
You're killing me. So this is called Carousel. I don't know what to say after that. Good luck, Ari.
And I love that Stevie just kind of shrugs her shoulders. She doesn't even realize how much this probably means to a young artist. Or maybe she does, but she's just telling her truth.
For all you broken-hearted lovers lost, go find another one. 'Cause you know time won't wait and you'll be late. White rabbits on the run. It's hard to know what's good for you. I know she let you down, but the fever breaks when it's too much to take. So you can put your weapons down. All you'll hear is the music. Beauty stands before you, and love comes back around again. It's a carousel, my friend. Never too late to change the pace. So how the days creep up on you.
Stevie Nicks would later go on to record the song for her album 24 Karat Gold, Songs from the Vault. But this really is such a beautiful song.
One of my favorite things about Stevie is her honesty.
Like my friend said once when Stevie's song Dreams came on the radio one sunny summer day, music blaring, thunder only happens when it's raining, players only love you when they're playing. My friend said in her Irish accent, Stevie Nicks never told a lie. Terrible Irish accent, but the sentiment is true. Whether it's about drugs or a relationship road she shouldn't have gone down, yep, we already talked about McFleetwood. Or that it's not always easy being green. No, it's not always easy being the fairy godmother of rock.
It's 2010, and a young Taylor Swift asks Stevie to sing with her at the Grammys. And in that same year, in The New Yorker, Stevie writes, quote,
"When I first got the call from Taylor Swift about performing with her at this year's Grammy Awards, I really didn't want to do it. She's 20 years old, 5 feet 11 and slender. I'm 40 years older, and to be frank, neither of the other two things." Unquote.
And I love that Stevie admits this. It's so relatable, important to admit that we have moments like this where we don't feel like our strongest self, and where it's not always easy to be the supportive one. But we also can make choices, and Stevie chose to sing with Taylor anyway. And Taylor took a lot of flack for this performance. People thought she sang flat, and ironically they wonder why Stevie chose to sing with this untalented neophyte. Stevie is a pro. She's been doing this for years, and this is Taylor at the beginning of her journey as an artist. And Stevie defended Taylor from the criticism, quote,
"Taylor can do ballads that could be considered pop or rock and then switch back into country. When I turned 20 years old, I had just made the serious decision to never be a dental assistant. Taylor just turned 20 and she's won 4 Grammys." Unquote.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And that kind of support is so important. And look at Taylor today. Reviews of her era's tour are phenomenal. 34 songs, 3.5 hour set, hardly any break, barely breaking a sweat. I have to lay down just thinking about it. I'm just gonna go to bed. Night night.
Oh, singing with Stevie Nicks at the Grammys was unbelievable. She has taught me some of the most important lessons. I feel like I made a new friend and sort of like this guardian angel type person. It's so wonderful that happened.
But she performed with a lot of different country artists, not just Taylor Swift and the Chicks, but also Lady Antebellum for a show called CMT Crossroads. Really nice versions of their songs and her songs, like Rhiannon. And around this time, she meets the sisters Haim. Haim sounds like I'm saying Hyman. The sisters Hyman. Let's not go there.
Good heavens.
They also did a cover of Rhiannon. And she has a long association with Haim, but I'm going to talk about that towards the end. But I love how she doesn't try to upstage the people she performs with. And you see that with the performance with Haim and with Lady Antebellum, with most of these performances. But the Lady Antebellum show, I really love her version of like Edge of 17 and the Lady Antebellum song Need You Now.
Reaching for the phone 'cause I can't fight it anymore. And I wonder if I ever cross your mind. For me it happens all the time. It's 1:15. I'm all alone and I need you there.
You really see how Stevie wraps her voice around the person she's singing with. Among other things, such a great harmony singer. Yeah, great harmony singer. That kid might make it yet. Another example of the supportive role that Stevie plays in her collaborations is one of my favorite collabs that she's ever done. And that's the song Beautiful People, Beautiful Problems, the song that she did with Lana Del Rey in 2017.
But we're just beautiful people with beautiful problems. Yeah.
She really liked that song. And actually, funny enough, I had wanted her to open the song because, you know, she's Stevie. But she didn't want to. She wanted to take the second verse and step into it.
But I also think it's because of this lyric.
But warm is the body of the girl from the land he loves. My heart is soft. My past is rough.
Such a vulnerable lyric and such a great vocal performance. It's another one of my favorite later Stevie vocal performances. And the juxtaposition of their two voices, I think, is maybe one of the best of her career, other than Fleetwood Mac, of course, and Tom Petty. It's just such an underrated song.
And I didn't realize how much Stevie worked on this song. Co-wrote and co-produced it with Lana and with Rick Knowles, which I didn't even know this, but she's known Rick Knowles since they were teenagers. And he's produced on every single Lana Del Rey album since the beginning, as well as Adele, as well as Madonna, lots of artists, but it was Stevie who gave Rick Knowles his first producing credit on her album in 1985, Rock a Little.
And remember what I said earlier about Maiden and the Crone? This is such a direct example of how something beautiful is created from this kind of relationship.
Lana had this to say about Stevie.
Rick and Stevie actually started the track in New York at Electric Lady Studios, and then she flew back and finished it at our studio. She was amazing. She's just everything you hope she's gonna be. She loved the track and she added so much to it, unquote.
Stevie had this to say about working with Lana.
You have a beautiful voice and I've already learned things to add to how I sing from you. Working on your song has changed me forever because I've learned from you. And Beautiful People is so unbelievably haunting. I really think it could have been a hit if it had been released as a single.
But I think it got overshadowed by Radiohead wanting to sue Lana Del Rey for the song Get Free. There's one part of the song, the chorus, that has the same melody and chord progression, although Radiohead also stole that part from the Hollies song, The Air That I Breathe. So what are we talking about here? I actually like all three songs. Hey, it's a good melody and chord progression. But unfortunately, she didn't release any more singles after that controversy from that album, which is really too bad.
So, yeah, she was full of surprises. She gave me a little gold and diamond H, because she always joked about how when I got older, I would live in the H and she would live in the W of the Hollywood side. Turn it into a little A-frame house. I was like, really?
Let's do it.
That's so sweet. Okay, it's 2019, and we talked about Taylor earlier, and I'm sure you remember that moment. But I'm also sure you remember this moment as well as the feud that was ended by the making of this video. This was kind of the olive branch. But Katy Perry and Taylor Swift had one of the most well-publicized feuds in all of pop music. Did it start over stolen backup dancers or mean things whispered in each other's ears at award shows? Lots of rumors. Who knows? All we know for sure is Katy had swish, swish, bish, and Taylor had But was it Stevie Nicks who helped end the feud? And we've already established that Stevie Nicks gives good advice. Stevie Nicks reflected on a conversation she had with Katy Perry at the Corinthia Hotel in London when Katy asked her about industry rivalries. She said, "So Stevie, who are your rivals?" And I said, "I don't have rivals." And her big blue eyes got bigger and bluer. So Katy mentions to Stevie her rivalry with Taylor Swift. And Stevie says, well, there's like the Taylor Swift army, and there's the Katy Perry army, and I was like, that's bullshit. You have to just walk away from that. Don't carry that around in your mind, because then they're winning. Later, in an interview with Howard Stern, Katy explained, "What I'm so grateful for is we did get to make up publicly and got to be an example of redemption for young girls." Famously publicly making up in that very music video for Swift's song, You Need to Calm Down, where they wore matching hamburger and french fry costumes. And Katy captioned an Instagram photo of them hugging, "This meal is beef free. Hashtag meat free Monday." Cute, clever, good advice, Stevie. Good job, Katy. Good job, Taylor. Yes, it's just good advice and fantastic collaborations all around. And yet another great collaboration comes when Miley Cyrus contacts Stevie to use a sample of her song, Edge of 17. Oh my God, I just realized I completely forgot a song. I completely forgot a song. And I forgot Beyonce. How was that even possible? How can I forget Beyonce? Wait, let me look this up because it's gonna kill me. Because I don't really remember when this happened. Oh yeah, yes, it was 2001. 2001. That was around the time of the making of the Trouble in Shangri-La album. 19 years before Midnight Sky. Yeah, in 2001, Beyonce wrote the song Bootylicious. She wrote it on a plane when she had her headphones on listening to that bop, Edge of 17. She wrote the lyrics to Bootylicious, and a hit song was born. Stevie was even in the video. I forgot about that. Wow, Edge of 17 was sampled for 2 enormous hits. That guitar line was the source of a hit about every 20 years since 1981. I wonder if there'll be another hit in 2041. And as for Miley Cyrus's song, Midnight Sky, it's actually one of my very favorite songs of hers. And then later they collaborated by mashing up the two songs together for the song Edge of Midnight.
But it's been a long time since I felt this good on my own. Lot of years went by with my hands tied up in your ropes.
They also got Jimmy Iovine to give them the original tracks from Edge of 17. So it's kind of a mix of old vocals and new vocals, old tracks and new tracks. And Stevie and Miley kind of trade off lyrics of each other's songs.
See my lips on a mouth, everybody's talking now. Baby, ooh, baby, ooh, say ooh.
And it's such a powerful mashup. It's honestly probably my favorite mashup of all time. Or, well, one of them. And to put a final note and to kind of go full circle, we discussed the sisters Haim earlier. Fairly recently, when the late, great Christine Mcvie passed away, Stevie Nicks, in order to honor Christine Mcvie,
she decided to use the lyrics to the song Hallelujah by Haim. And Stevie has loads of lyrics and lots of music. Lots of songs that could have been a beautiful tribute to Christine Mcvie. But Stevie decided to show her support of yet another group of young women. And I find it really appropriate and symbolic because one of the first women that Stevie had a pact with was Christine Mcvie.
All of a sudden, I had this great woman in my life. I had a best friend in my band. And Chris and I made a pact from the very beginning. And we said to each other, we will never be treated like second-class citizens. If we're sitting in a room with all those famous guys, we will be as famous as them, and they will respect us, or we will walk out. And so we kind of went in with such an attitude, the two of us, that we were a force to be reckoned with.
This whole video, I've really shown how Stevie refuses to let the press bring down and hurl accusations at these young women for not having the talent. And these female artists that Stevie so dearly befriends and chooses to work with, whether it's Courtney or Lana or Taylor or Miley. And I think she doesn't allow this to happen because it's what happened to Stevie at the beginning of her career. That was said about herself. Because she was a beautiful, feminine woman with great style, unfair comparisons were made to Christine Mcvie, who was one of the boys and kind of this virtuoso talent. For a long time, it felt like Stevie got the attention while Christine Mcvie got the respect. And it's so weird and crazy. Why?
According to Mick Fleetwood's book, early reviews of their self-titled 1975 album negatively compared Stevie's voice to Christine Mcvie's golden-throated voice, which goes to show you just because somebody makes a comment doesn't make it true, because much has been made of the unique tone of Stevie Nicks' voice. And of course, later, Stevie would have lots of success because of it. And this is where jealousies could have come in, but they didn't let jealousy affect their pact. And this is a good lesson for everyone. If you're doing your best work, you might have to wait for your moment in the sun, but it will eventually happen, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of one or the other. And Christine always set a great example for how Stevie would treat other female artists over the course of her career.
So her choosing to use the words of Haim to honor her, that token of sisterly support being passed on, it's such a full circle moment. Bravo, Stevie and Christine Mcvie. Rest in peace. Wow, that was a really rewarding video to do. A lot of this stuff I didn't know, and I didn't realize just how many women Stevie chose to support over the years. It was really interesting and it was really fun. I hope you liked it as much as I enjoyed making it. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, all of that really helps the channel and helps me be able to do more videos like this. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, that your life is a wonderful, beautiful musical, and I hope that I get to see you next time. Popcorn Philosopher over and out.